Hey folks, welcome to Market Intraday Analysis by InTheMoneyStocks.com, your leaders in pure technical analysis, avoiding all that Wall Street hype. Today, Wednesday, February 11th, 2009. Well, we're seeing a nice bounce back on Wall Street today, folks, and you can see this is the 60-minute chart I have up to start with, but I think what we'll do is go to the 10-minute intraday first on the SPY and take a look. Now, you can see all our key levels from yesterday are in at this point, and you really want to focus in on what's going on here, guys. And one thing I want to point out is there's a couple pattern formations here that we want to be very clear on. First of all, let's talk a little bit about the markets. Right now, the markets are slightly to the positive side. The Dow up about 66 points. The NASDAQ trading up about 9. The S&P up about 7.5. Really just under 1% across the board. Now, really what you saw yesterday was that major sell-off because of Geithner's disappointment to the markets, as he was supposed to come out and lay out that bailout plan, and he really came out and just said, this is what it is, and that's what it is, and he didn't give clarity, and the market craves that clarity. So what you did see was that hard sell-off yesterday, but we came into some key support levels on yesterday's chart, and I pointed this out in yesterday's Research Center video, which you all should be joining at InTheMoneyStocks.com, but the key is this. Notice all these lines down here. See how there's kind of lines up here, but they're kind of spaced out? And then all of a sudden, down in this lower region, you have all these support lines coming into play. That's what you have to look at when it comes to where you're going to think you're going to bounce in a market. The more support lines you have, the more likelihood of one holding and getting a bounce off of it. And we are seeing that today to the small extent. And you can see here your key levels. Now, this key level was really the number one you have to point out. And this goes back multiple days, this line right here I'm drawing over. And you can see how it worked as perfectly as you could see. You have the high put in right here before the pullback. Where does the pullback come? It comes to this lower one, and then actually closes on this upper one where you have double ones, you have slanted ones, as well as straight ones, straight support lines, as well as the moving averages. You have the 20 moving average here, which is a beautiful one to just note there. So you have that pullback, then you have the retrace up, come back down, and then another attempt at putting in another high, and at this point you actually start to form a pattern. There's a little bit of a head and shoulder pattern on the intraday video here, folks, that we need to really be closely watching. Now, you can see it over here. All right, so let's take a look. First of all, you have your shoulder over here, right here. Here's your head, and here's your shoulder. All right, right over here is your shoulder. So there's your inverted head and shoulder pattern. And inverted head and shoulders are bullish patterns if they break up, and bearish if it's a regular head and shoulder pattern would be a bearish pattern. This one's inverted because it's upside down. Notice here's the shoulder, here's the head. The head is below the shoulder. Therefore, now what you're doing is you're taking this point, drawing that to this point, which is your shoulder, your kind of your neckline, if you would, and just draw it straight down. And notice how the market is beginning to break above that level. In addition, you have the 50 moving average in white here sloping down, and the market is trying to get above that as well. This is such a key area in this market currently, folks. I can't even stress it. You break above this level, you could be in for a nice little move to the upside in this market. Now, you got to get above this area and the high of the day. You clear the high of the day, and really this line right here, and I'll just draw it, point to it over here because it stretches all the way over here. You get above that line, you're probably in for a nice move up. However, if you don't, you could fail that move and start falling back down towards the lows of the day. So we're really on a pivotal area. As you see, we're pounding on that line now, pounding on the 50 moving average as well as the neckline of the inverted head and shoulder pattern. And if that breaks out, guys, watch out because this market could get a nice little boost this afternoon. Now, right now, folks, you have Capitol Hill, more testimony by the CEOs on Capitol Hill to all these, congressmen and so forth. And it's really, frankly, I don't really get into the politics of it, but it drives me nuts. I tell you guys, some of the things that these politicians are saying are just absolutely ludicrous. I mean, it drives me nuts listening to it, but I don't really want to get into it too much. But it's kind of like, someone who's never played baseball in their life trying to give advice to baseball players or whatever. You get the idea here. It's just kind of ludicrous to hear them just try to hear themselves speak, and it does drive me nuts. Though as far as I'm concerned, those CEOs should be working at their companies trying to improve things, not spending a whole day in front of Congress telling them, answering their feeble questions. Long story short, let's kind of move on here. But again, just watch that level, guys. You can see how important it is right here on the chart. Now, I'm going to go to the 60-minute chart and draw in some key lines here, and we'll draw them in as we see them here. And a couple things you want to watch for. Number one, you want to draw your lines in here. These are very, very key lines. Notice the lows connecting, how you had support here. That's a definite support line. Then let's take another one from that same area and We can draw this one in right here to the upside. All right, oops, let's get that one good. All right, there we go. So that's an upper resistance line. All right, in addition, what you want to watch for here, guys, is a couple other levels. First of all, take this one, draw it straight down to the high there, and that's exactly where you came into support yesterday. That's why you have to understand your support lines on all levels. So important, because notice here, you have this one sloping up where you pierced it, as well as this one coming from this point to this point, sloping down, and you actually hit that one. That's telling you a bounce is coming. Now, you got a little bit of a bounce this morning. Now you're consolidating on the 60-minute. Again, as I said, this could be setting up for a bullish move, but again, you have to watch for the move on the intraday to get above that inverted head and shoulder breakout point. You get above that, you should be in some luck this afternoon. Now, a couple other ones, obviously, guys, I want to draw in here. Let's take these. All right, notice this one. This is a great one. Take the high point from this point on the 60-minute chart, going back to late January, draw it to the high of this point over here. Where does it come out to be? Resistance line. So that's your resistance on your 60-minute, and notice how you never got to close above that. You pierced it in this one red candle and then sold off immediately. All right, so you continue to see that. Now, near term, this 60-minute is slightly bullish. Longer term, if you look from this point down here, it could actually be a bearish pattern. So that's why that 60-minute chart, you want to refer right now to the 10-minute for a nearer term move. And then we want to see later in the day how this 60-minute chart pattern, is it a bearish flag pattern? Is it a bullish flag pattern? How is it shaping up for the possible move? All right. Now, this support line is very key. I must say this one's very important. Watch that one very closely as far as I'm concerned. Now, you also have the double top up here. This is just going back a couple days. Put in that one. You can see this level of resistance as well up on the upside. These are all your main levels on the 60-minute that I'm seeing as I'm doing this live, guys. I mean, I'm just drawing them in as I see them here. My trained eye can kind of pick them out and pretty well. But as of now, this is the most important thing on the 60-minute. This lower trend line right here and this one right here. Somewhat of a wedge, actually. Many of you guys would call this a little bit of a wedge. Now, which way is it going to break out? That's the question. That's what you have to concern yourself with. Going back to the 10-minute intraday as well. Look at, we are technically above this 50 moving average on the 10-minute, but you still have this resistance line, this one, which is so important on the 10-minute, stretching right across here to get above. You break above this into this area, most likely you will make a run at this point, right to this trend line of resistance. All right, it's cleared the moving averages at this point. The next moving average is the 200 up here, so this would be the next point to watch for if you break up. All right, now it's going to be, that's the big question, do we break up or not? If you fail here, remember, the biggest moves can come from failed moves, so that's the other thing. If you start to fail, you could actually have another sell-off over the next couple days. Now, the other trend line you want to draw in on your 60-minute, on your 10-minute right here, guys, and I'm just seeing this live, take your low from this point right here yesterday and draw it to your low of the day and right up. Look at that trend line. How perfect is that? From this point to this point, and look at how it extends to right the lows from right over here. So you can see this is such a key area. I can't stress that enough. If I could circle this in yellow or another color, I would, because you're literally on a pivotal point right here in the market, folks, and you want to see which way this breaks. If it breaks below this point here, you could see a nice little sell-off to the downside. If you're able to get above this line, then a good move to the upside. Now, a couple things, guys. Gold. Let's talk about gold. Gold, a nice move here on the intraday, and I want to go to the 360-minute chart so we can actually see a little more on the GLD here. There you go. Now, you have this resistance on the GLD, and we are technically breaking above it. All right, so keep that in mind, folks. You may have a breakout on gold. Now, I'd wait for consolidation and a pullback to see if it retests this line, but that's something you want to watch for very closely here on the GLD. GLD showing a lot of signs of life here, and we'll continue to watch that. On the oil front, inventories came out today. You can see that you had a nice pop back here on the USO going back to late December, early January, and then a little bit of a sell-off here as well, coming right back down, taking out the lows. And we'll see where that goes. In the intraday, the oil front, you have USO down about 28 cents, so it's slightly lower on the day after inventories. Here's where inventories came out. You can see you had an initial sell-off, then a little bit of a pop, move back up, and then a sell-off, and you're still staying in this lower range. So we'll do more analysis updates on that, and I'm going to really focus on tonight's research analysis video and the daily market report on giving out key levels on oil, gold, the dollar, because the dollar's key as well. There's a big chart pattern in the dollar I want to show tonight in the video, as well as the market overall here, whether or not we break out. What does the daily look like? Are we going to start rallying? Are the projections showing a rally coming in or more selling, possibly to November lows? And again, folks, that all comes inclusive in the Research Center. Do encourage you to go join that. You also get the Pro Trader Watch List, daily market report, technical tactic video, educational videos, and more. All right, take care, guys.